And we are live. Hi, everybody. Jaeger here, and we're going to be talking a little bit about some arts teams and quick teams. Here in chat today, we're actually going to have our friend Prodigy. Um, he is in the Discord pretty regularly, and also on my friends list as well. But anyways,
Hi, Mom. I'm on YouTube.
yeah. Um, but yeah, so introductions aside, let's talk a little bit about crit teams and how like their functions work. I know there's another good video on YouTube about crit teams that's actually extremely useful. So if you're looking for more information, search that up. But here we're just going to go over some basic general information, hopefully to give you an idea on what we can what is it on, like, give you a general idea on how to set a crit team up. And let me finish that real quick. I just had a quick friend request. But so let's go into formation. Let's check this out. Actually, let's not go into formation. Let's go try a mission. That way we can get a friend servant.
I'm not sure if I can watch your stream because I'm worried it will conflict with your stream and you might pick up on the audio.
Yeah, if you want, just mute the audio on your stream. That way you don't because I mean you're hearing me. We're talking plainly as can see. All you need to see is the video, obviously, right?
I guess I'll just hear everything then. I don't need to open the stream.
Yeah, yeah. So let's see. I should probably post the stream into Discord only because I forget to do that all the time. But anyway, so yeah, that's done. Let's look at something here real quick. So perfect. I got Curiously's Marie, which is awesome. And so let's talk about this real quick. Like riders and archers, first and foremost, they have the most star absorption, as well as the most star generation. Or actually,
They
not
also
star
have
generation.
that skill where they do increase crit damage. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, most actually most archers have increased crit damage. Most riders have just increased quick card effectiveness. But what we mainly wanted to see is so for riders and archers, they both have like a decent amount of crit star generation. They don't have like the best generation. That is assassins. Assassins have the best crit star generation, but riders and archers actually do have quite a bit of crit star generation as well. So they're good at filling in the gaps for crit star generation, as well as most riders and archers actually do have at least two quick quick cards, depending on their loadout, depending on what their specialty is. And most riders actually do have a quick noble phantasm, so that actually also leads to more quick combos, which is what you're searching for a quick team.
Yep.
The more quick combos you can do, the better. And so right here is what I have set up right now is to lead is Gilgamesh. He doesn't have as many quick cards as I would like, but because of the amount of hits that his cards do, and the um, and his crit star generation and the amount of hits that his cards do, he actually generates quite a few quick cards or quick critical stars just by himself, which is not bad. So if you get into a point where you got like his quick card and two of his buster cards, lead with the quick and then follow with two busters, and by the end of it you'll probably have at least 25 quick critical critical stars, which is not bad.
Elliot's in the chat.
Say again?
Elliot, he's in the
Okay.
chat.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey Draco Lord, how you doing? And then Hushi, how's it going as well? I just saw you guys in the chat there as well. But anyways, so continuing on, Gil is a great archer just to lead with, but the problem with Gil and having a rider is that they're going to compete for crit stars. So that's something you need to take into account um, whenever you do have a crit team, is who's going to be competing for crit stars, who has the most absorption, and who has the and who's your crit star generators. So leading into that, our next servant in the line is going to be Jin Ki. And right now I'm actually leveling up both. We're looking at assassins, and out of the 3-star and below assassins, Jin Ki is actually quite good along with Hassan. They're both actually quite good at generating crit stars and being solid servants overall. So that shouldn't be too hard to find. Unfortunately, current game, the 4-star assassins aren't necessarily great at generating crit stars.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, that's the state of the game, and it will change soon. Actually, quite soon. It's going to start changing where we will get 4 and 5-star assassins that will be amazing at generating crit stars.
Cough, cough, Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, and Jack the Ripper's definitely look out for her in December. And yes, Draco Lord, you are correct that Gil does have a skill that increases his gather rate as well, which is useful especially for when he's competing with, like, say, a rider for crit star absorption. Hey Trey, it's it's Prodigy. Prodigy's in chat with us today.
I can't see the stream chat. I only look at the Discord.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Ooh, interesting. That's fine. I'll just call out comments as I see them for us. Anyways, Trey says, "Where's his art? The art that you promised, or he's promised you, or he's made you promise him." That's funny.
Who?
Maxi.
No.
I know. Tell him, right? It's too funny. Anyways, moving on. Trying to get back on the discussion. Let's see here. Let's try to stay focused today. I would like to cut this stream down to maybe half an hour, 45 minutes at most. So anyways, assassins are amazing, only because they generate crit stars like nobody's business. And Jin Ki is actually quite good at generating crit stars. Her 2 initial skills are both based around generating crit stars, and so with that, she's just amazingly good just to run as well, along with her quick card setup and her crit star generation being so high. She has quite the bit of crit stars to generate. Not only that, she's got a quick Noble Phantasm that, unfortunately, it does have a downside by decreasing her health. But it does give back a ton of crit stars, even though it's I'm not sure how many hits it does, but I know it gives back quite a bit. Now Jin Ki, once you get her to her 4th ascension and do her strengthening quest, she also gets a 3rd skill that increases her critical strength as well as her crit card effectiveness. So she becomes useful in actually doing damage um, along with jittering crit stars at the same time, and then and all that, which is amazing. So definitely, like, if you have a Jin key that has, NP 1, 2, 3, whatever it is, or at least a decent Noble Phantasm level, she's definitely someone to take a look at in the meantime, in the interim, to use in a crit team. So how is this all like planned together, right? You're asking me. I don't know. Um, it works quite interestingly enough in that the more crit stars you start to generate, the more crit stars you will get later on. So it's like a snowball effect per se
Mm-hmm.
with crit stars, because every time you do a critical hit, your NP gauge goes up, you get extra crit stars, and it's obviously extra damage. Um, I believe you get extra crit stars from crits, right?
I just know you get extra crit stars from overkills.
Yeah, overkills as well. Okay, shit. I might have to double check on that information.
I'm not sure about the other one though.
Yeah, I know during crits you actually do get extra Noble Phantasm gauge, and obviously
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
extra damage. But I might have to double check for you guys. I might have to make a follow-up video on this. Um, but I'm pretty sure you also get extra crit stars as well. Um, but anyways, even regarding that, the more damage you do, regardless, the more crit stars you'll throw out of the bag anyway. It's like everything in this game is like the more you do, the more you get. So that's nice, right? So keeping the crit combos coming and crit combos rolling is actually quite a good thing. And so I've noticed whenever I try to use crit teams, um, whenever I use a Noble Phantasm that like doesn't generate any crit stars, or it just it like messes up that rhythm. That rhythm of I'll generate between 20 and 30 crit stars for my team,
Mm-hmm.
and then if I use a Noble Phantasm, a lot of those crit stars don't get used, or they don't get regenerated the next round, the next turn. And so I'm not like I've tried to like not use Noble Phantasms when I'm using crit teams. I'm actually more of like leaning to just using just the crit combos and the keep on that rolling through the crits in order to use them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other case. But in the case of, for example, Jin Ki, since she automatically gives you back crit stars for using her Noble Phantasm, it's not a bad idea to use hers. And before strengthening, she gives back 15 crit stars at level 1, and at level 1 for the strengthening, it gives back 20. And then that is also affected by overcharge. So then it goes all the way up to 40 crit stars back to back, which is just insane
Wow.
at level 500 or at 500%. So, just with her doing damage and her Noble Phantasm generating crit stars, she's actually not only a pretty decent crit star generator, but also a pretty decent crit star user in that respect. But the problem is, assassins have a very low crit star absorption rate, so they won't win out to riders and archers
Archer.
in that department, which is okay because they don't they do increase their crit damage and everything, but when they do get in that point where they're by themselves, that's when they really shine, when they're fighting um, when they're fighting riders, or they're fighting something by themselves, that they're able to just th- dish out the damage, increase their Noble Phantasm, get all the crit stars, and just throw out some damage. Although they are fragile, so that's something you have to take into account whenever you're fighting with them. Now, some other servants to complement them in this lineup. I also threw in, we have Julius Caesar. As you know, most of you have probably already seen him or used him, but he is actually quite a good crit star um, or crit saber, and actually probably one of the strongest single target sabers in the game. When it comes to just like raw power of single target Noble Phantasm. So he's definitely not to be underestimated with his skill set and his card loadout to be able to generate and use crit stars effectively. And sabers are a little weird in that they do have a decent crit star absorption rate. So I've noticed a lot of times that my Artoria Pendragon will like eat out a lot of the crit stars compared to Gilgamesh whenever they're both on the field. So I haven't used Julius Caesar that much yet, but I do plan on using him a little bit more to see what we can do. So to like further develop some strategies to use him effectively. But luckily, he does have some decent skills. He's got a critical damage up skill. He's got charisma, and he's got increased allies MP strength. So that's definitely something to think about when using a saber. He's actually quite good overall when you take everything into account. But then also on the cavalry side, we have Ushi Wokamaru, which is actually another crit focused servant. Which is interesting only because her only crit centered skill is, I think, her third one. Let me double check. Or her Noble Phantasm. Yeah, no, actually, yeah, her only quick focus skill is her post strengthening skill. So she doesn't become like a really great crit servant until she is fully ascended and gets quick-witted Swallow Bee, which applies an evade for one turn, but also increases her critical star drop rate for one turn. So that's definitely something that you would use in like niche situations where she's got 2 of her crit cards up, or all 3 of her crit cards, her Noble Phantasm and the extra 2, plus like you need to survive a Noble Phantasm attack or something, or whatever it may be. So it gives her some survivability, but it also increases her crit star drop rate. But needless to say, it still is pretty high. And then on top of that, her Noble Phantasm also increases crit star drop rate. So using her Noble Phantasm on top of if you get in that situation where you have extra crit, um, quick cards in succession, using her Noble Phantasm and having some for a quick combo may actually be very beneficial in creating and maintaining those crit stars. So that's what we're going over right now, just for the crit team, which I haven't shown any gameplay or anything like that yet. We've mainly just been talking theory, which is what I want to cover in this video, is talk a little bit of theory. And then in the next couple videos that I want to roll out, I'll actually be showing more gameplay and more situations on the certain setups and certain servant combos and everything. So as we flesh those out, we'll be throwing out those videos for you guys to see, and for you guys to try to strategize and get your team set up. And like as you noticed here, all of these 3 out of the 5 servants that I have here are all silver. They're not gold servants, so it's definitely something that's attainable for a lot of people. It's not hard, especially when you consider the different servants that have their uses. So let's just but moving on, let's move over to arts teams. So arts teams, they're interesting in that a good arts team will be able to spam their Noble Phantasm but also a good arts team can also turn into a crit team when set up properly. So, but for now, we're going to focus on just the arts team and spamming of Noble Phantasm to work in that respect, in that regard. So, Prodigy, like, what do you think is probably like the best arts servant right now in the game?
Crit Servant?
No, art.
Um, Probably Hans. I used him a lot.
Yeah, Hans is definitely one of the better arts servants out there. He is probably one of the best art servants out there, only because he's easily attainable for practically almost everybody, and his noble phantasm and his art skills are amazing. The only problem with Hans is obviously his survivability. He's a 2-star. He has extremely minimal amount of health.
He's frail.
Yeah, he's an extremely frail, so he's someone that you need to protect. That is for sure. But
That's
obviously,
why you. That's why you put Mash in the team.
yeah, in an arts team, hopefully to like try to protect your casters. Now, so going on to that subject, Hans's bigger brother Waver is what I know. I know what most everyone would say is like probably the best art servant out there. Only because he can increase, the whole party's um, noble phantasm by quite a bit, just with his skills alone. And then all of his arts cards are extremely strong, especially when used with formal craft. Now, I'm not saying, Waver's, the must-have art servant, but you can definitely do without Waver. You don't necessarily need Waver in your party to create an effective arts team. Um, which is what I'm trying to get at here. I actually did a mission earlier, an interlude, where I had to fight a demon, and the demon had like 200 some odd thousand health. And so this demon, it wasn't something that you can, honestly take down in a couple turns. Survival is definitely going to play a role, and pushing out damage is definitely going to be a role as well, because you don't want to be sitting there for like 100 turns, right?
Hmm.
So, but let's start from the beginning again. Let's go back. So let's talk about art servants, and we want to basically go over arts teams, art servants right now. But obviously, having lots of arts cards is important. We want to have as many arts cards as possible to be able to chain all those arts cards together for combos. And obviously, the go-to servants would be casters for this. But there are a good amount of servants out there that are not casters, that do have 3 or 2 arts cards and an arts noble phantasm that serve that purpose quite well as well, and are able to dish out damage. Now, currently the current banner, Orion, is one such servant. Orion has an Arts Noble Phantasm along with 2 Arts cards, and would serve very well in being a damage dealer for an Arts team. But in this case, here we actually have Nero, and I was lucky enough to pull a Nero during the last Nero Fest, and she is an Arts team god, I would say. Only because her Noble Phantasm is AoE, it's an Arts Noble Phantasm, and she's got the standard Saber loadout, which does include 2 Arts cards, 2 Buster cards, and a Quick card. Um, so she is able to maintain her Noble Phantasm generation quite a bit, which is not bad at all. And unfortunately, she is a 4-star, so her strength isn't quite at the level of 5 stars. But once you increase her Noble Phantasm strength by her second interlude, I want to say, if I remember correctly, her Noble Phantasm is is quite strong. So moving on from there, um, we're looking at servants that have decent arts cards to create combos with, but also are able to dish out damage, especially AOE damage, if possible. Because the more damage we can throw out to enemies, unless you're in a situation where you need a single target damage, which there are those servants as well, which we'll look at in just a moment.
There's she doesn't dish out a lot of damage in the long run.
Yeah, Joan of Arc doesn't dish out a huge amount of damage, but
But
she
she has a
does.
lot of arts cards.
Exactly. Joan of Arc does have a ton of arts cards as well, so she serves as the support role for an arts team. Which, like, for an arts team, I would say there's three roles. Obviously, there's going to be your support arts, which is going to be like your main healer servant, which I would say because an arts team, you're not going to kill an enemy extremely fast. You're gonna whittle them down. But as you whittle them down, you want to survive. And so healing is an important part of an arts team. And that's where Hans comes in, and that's where Joan of Arc is amazing because, for one, she has a noble phantasm that puts invincibility for everyone, so that just nullifies incoming damage. As well, it heals everyone for 2 turns, which is not a bad heal, and especially since it increases with overcharge, if you can, do a couple double phantasms in a row, that healing is just amazing as well. So you have the arts support, so you have that role, and then you have the arts damage, which is another role, which is it's gonna be your main damage dealer. That's a servant that you want to have that has a noble phantasm that does damage. And so what we're looking at here is um, we have we have Nero as our arts damage. We have Hans as our arts support, and Hans, buffs damage, buffs defense, but also provides a heal. And then if we're looking at our third card here, which is currently Jian, she would be also fit into that arts support role. Now the last role that I would say fits into an arts team, going on from that arts. Um, so we have the arts damage dealer, we have the arts support and healer, and then lastly is we just have um, the arts effectiveness, which what I did earlier, what I was going on earlier was okay. So Nero's a saber, right? And she's not effective against everything. If we had a berserker, an arts berserker, which I believe Vlad is an arts berserker, then
Yeah.
probably fit that role because he's effective towards everything. He's got an arts noble phantasm, and he's got a decent amount of arts cards. So with that said, he would fit the arts effective that much better. But there are certain servants that we can use to our advantage to increase our damage output, but also um, keep our arts combos going. And so I would like to introduce Martha, um, which is awesome. So in case you are fighting, for example, a caster class, then Martha would be an excellent example to keep those arts cards combos going. Orion is obviously the arts archer. Nero is the arts saber. Although I prefer Nero over Orion only because of the AoE. So she's your general damage dealer, not like your main damage dealer in the arts team.
Speaking of Martha, if you pair her with Jan, she can remove her
Yes,
stun once Jan uses her Noble Phantasm.
exactly, exactly. So, if we switch this line up here real quick, that would be an amazing setup here because then Jian would lose that stun from the negative side of her um, Noble Phantasm, which does get removed later on with her strengthening quest, I believe.
I
Or
can't wait.
Yeah, which is amazing, but we don't have that yet. So until then, Martha and Jian are a great combo in order to keep your team alive and keep the damage going and keep your arts combos going and everything. Because when Jian is in that stun phase, she does any arts cards that you put into a combo are not going to work, obviously. So that's something to take into account there. And let me take a quick look at her, Martha's Noble Phantasm. Does that um,
I think her Noble Phantasm is a buster.
Yeah, her Noble Phantasm is a buster, and it decreases enemies. I thought for a second that her Noble Phantasm also removed allies' status effects or whatever, but it doesn't. But that's fine. It's no big deal. So looking at all that, there's many strategies on how to get on how to work an arts team, and there's a lot of strategies that do work extremely well. What I did earlier actually is I used Marie with uh, with Hans as my support. Marie was my main damage because I was facing a caster class, and then Nero was my secondary damage, along with providing combos for everyone as well. And it took me almost 20 turns. It was 19 turns at the end. But by the end of it, everyone still had full health and was practically only one combo away from doing another set of Noble Phantasms. So, that's definitely something to take into account whenever you are facing certain enemies, certain long fights. These long fights are where arts teams completely excel. Is where you got enemies that have tons of health, and you want survival.
Those limit breaks, those are gonna be coming out.
I'm sorry, say again.
So you know those limit breaks where you can't overkill an enemy because they have that extra bar.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, that's where survival comes in.
Yeah. So that's where also we'll have uses of the arts team, which is extremely useful. Like they're like honestly the jack of all trades if you set them up properly, because you can um, always do damage and always heal, and depending on who you use as that third servant for the effective arts, you can definitely be effective to who like any servant type. And so moving on from there, like obviously Vlad would be one of the best effective combos. So having like Jian, um, Waver, and Vlad would be an amazing team as well. But that is obviously, you're at triple 5-star level right there. That's not something everyone can do all the time. Um, that's quite a bit of money, I would say. But
I'll be
even
right
then,
back.
go ahead. Okay. So, yeah, having these arts teams, they're extremely flexible in the way that you set them up, and so they are useful in the way in how you can use them. And so um, I have the rear support is always especially important in an arts team as well, because unfortunately, you got your main team, which generally it will involve a caster, because that's just the nature of the beast for an arts team. And casters are pretty weak, so depending on if you get unlucky or if you just don't get the right skill procs at the right times or whatever it is, your caster might die right away, and so you want someone to replace him that would fill either whatever role it is, or depending on what you're fighting, whatever effectiveness it is, to back it up. And so that's also when you have to think about, like, not just your main team, but your sub-member team as well, and what order they are placed and everything.
Sorry,
And
I'm back.
that's
There's
fine.
a phone call, that's why.
Yeah, not a problem. And
I'll
so
probably have to start heading out soon.
that's fine.
Probably 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. So, taking all things into account, we have the general all around arts card that will just do general damage and is there for arts. We have your caster, your waver, or your Hans or Jian as your main arts supports, and then you have like your effective arts, which doesn't necessarily have to have an arts noble phantasm or have an arts loadout, but mainly would preferably have at least 2 arts cards to just try to keep those arts combos rolling, but also be effective to whatever enemies that you're fighting at that time. And let's see, I remember seeing something else.
I forgot to mention Robin Hood too. He has some
Yeah, Robin
arts
Hood has an
cards,
is arts focused. He's like an arts focused archer, is he
and
not?
his Noble Phantasm is a art card.
Yeah, so if you are fighting um, sabers at the and you need something to focus on arts, or you want to, like, keep that arts combos going and the arts just centered around arts. Robin Hood is also a extremely good servant in his own. Um, to use. He is one of those like one-trick ponies though. Like he's got um, that one skill that poisons everyone, and then his Noble Phantasm that does more damage to um, poisoned enemies.
Yeah,
But if you pair him in an arts team, I don't see why that would be a huge problem. Especially since he does have 2 quick cards and 2 arts cards. Because the less Buster cards, the better in an arts team. Only because Buster cards don't generate any or barely any, if any,
yeah, they
Noble
rarely
Phantasm.
generate.
You basically have to like prelude a Buster card with like 2 arts cards and like an um, NP gain skill to be able to get any NP gain out of a Buster card. But quick cards, on the other hand, do have quite a bit of arts or of Noble Phantasm generation. So that's not half bad if you end up having to go with a loadout that has 2 quicks and 2 arts and 1 buster on a servant, but they have an arts noble phantasm. That's more than manageable. Definitely more than manageable to work with. Especially if those quick cards are preceded by an arts card, it actually increases the effectiveness of their arts generation by quite a bit. So that's just things to take into account. Like in almost every class, there is an arts dedicated servant, so you can always change up, either if you're using your support as your effective, or if you have Waver or Jian as your main caster support, then you can fiddle around with what works for your specific setups. And I believe I have, yep, I'm right over the 32 AP 30 AP threshold, so we're going to do another duel with the 3 knights, and I'm going to go in with an arts setup. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go in this time. I don't believe there's any arts focused lancers just yet, but that's fine. I don't want to go in with any lancers, so what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to go in with, I can go in either with Waver or I can go in with someone else. We'll see. But I was mainly like, it's this setup right here is actually quite slow at killing people, but it will definitely kill them or kill enemies, and you will definitely survive. So having Nero, Hans, and then Waver all in one team, um, yeah, there's not too much of a risk of dying in that. So I can actually equip a couple more craft essences to these. I'll throw that there. And we like friend points, so I always try to equip a friend point craft essence. But also, we're looking at 3.
Are you doing a friend poll?
No, I'm doing the what's it called? The duel with the 3 knights. But I'm using an
Okay.
arts-centered focus setup to do it with. And then we'll probably end the video after this. But so my main setup is going to be Nero, Hans, Waver, and then after that it's going to be Martha, Medea, and then you know, if all else fails, I'll probably just nuke them with Artoria with a kaleidoscope. So, you know, and hopefully by that time, you know, it won't be hard. It shouldn't be hard to just get her a quick arts combo to get her into a into Noble Phantasm, and then hopefully kill. So this team right here actually shouldn't be too bad. We'll see how it works. It shouldn't work, or shouldn't be what's it called? Um, non-effective. Like the only thing is, like, obviously if I have a archer class, it's gonna do some damage to Nero here. But since I do have Hans and Waver attacking, you know, that neutral damage to take out the archers shouldn't be that big of a deal. So let's just go ahead and stop talking and start and have some fun.
Better hope you get the monument.
Yeah, dude, I need one more monument, one more Saber monument. So let's see if we get Artoria in the end of this quest. If not, they just announced that we're going to be getting half AP for
Yeah,
the
my
monster hunting and the
favorite.
duel with the knights. So I'll probably wait till then if that's the case.
I'm gonna spam the monster hunting for those hearts.
Yeah.
I need them to level up hurt skills. I'm looking for level 7 increase attack skill by the end of the event.
Yeah. So as we focus on arts, obviously I'm going to use all of their arts generating skills to begin with, because then by the time the end comes up, their skills should have refreshed. But I'm actually going to skip on Hans's Noble Phantasm and just focus on arts generation for Nero at this point. So obviously leading with the arts card that she did give me, and then having her do a 4-hit combo. Hey, Henry Bottom, I'm just looking at the chat right now. I'm not exactly sure how good Drake or the other writers are from the next upcoming banner um, in the Okeanos banner. I still have to do a little bit more research. But from what I've seen, like the small snippets of them, they are pretty decent. So I mean, honestly, any 5-star is going to be a decent servant. So if you do end up pulling that 5-star, you know, or decide you want to go for a 5-star, you know, that's not necessarily bad. And then especially 4 stars, in most classes, except for Assassin for some odd reason. All of the 4 stars that are out are pretty decent compared to like the 3 and 2 star equivalents. So any 4 star that you pull is always going to be better than a 3 star or 2 star at this current time, especially if you use them properly. Like that's the main thing. Main name of this game is to use your servants like with efficiency, like as best as you can use them. So let's see here. Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna be doing a lot more. I'm gonna try to be doing a lot more videos because lately I've been doing a lot of streams. So we'll see what I can do to get you guys some more information regarding, especially regarding some of these upcoming servants. And unfortunately, I never played the Japanese version of this game, and so that gives me a little bit of limited potential and um, in information when it comes to a lot of the upcoming servants. But fortunately, there is a ton of information out there, so it's not we just got to put together the information and go from there. Ooh, so I'm stuck here. I'm actually not going to go with a arts combo, even though I have like 3 options to do an arts combo here. I'm going to go for the quick combo, only just because I want to save these 2 noble phantasms. And which the quick combo isn't entirely bad, because it does build some noble phantasm for the servants that I did use the quick on. And yeah, Urael, Spyrox is definitely a good servant to have.
Who's the
Since,
boss?
oh, dang it, I got Gilgamesh as the boss, which is perfectly fine. I don't see my Nero dying anytime soon to Gilgamesh. Even with his type advantage, he's probably not going to do enough damage to kill her. So to start, I'm actually gonna. Oh, actually, I should have thrown in a Hans in between there to throw my heals up. That's okay. So we're gonna just start off with Nero's Noble Phantasm with 2 other of Nero's arts cards for a 4-hit combo, which is not gonna do a whole ton of damage, but that's okay.
Imagine the Gil lives on 1 HP.
I'm sorry?
Imagine the Gil lives on 1 HP.
Yeah, I know, that would be pretty funny. And the reason I wanted to save Waver's Noble Phantasm until afterwards was because his Noble Phantasm brings down charge. So now Gilgamesh's 3 charge Noble Phantasm actually turns into a 4. So that was planning. Basic planning. And it's what you do have to take into account when you do use an arts team is when to use their Noble Phantasms and when to do the different skills and stuff to maximize your survivability, because in the end it's like as long as you survive, that's not a big deal. Yeah, I have a feeling I probably only need 1 more turn to kill Gilgamesh here. And that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it for this Gilgamesh. So even though my main damage dealer is a Saber against an Archer, we're still doing very, very well. And practically everyone's health is still full, which is awesome. And to finish off Gilgamesh, we have a triple Hans combo, or a quadruple Hans combo, which even if it didn't kill Gilgamesh, he gets his Noble Phantasm back, and he drops a piece. That's okay. So anyways, but yeah, as you can see, my Noble Phantasms, I was using them constantly, basically in that last round. So that's something that you want to try to strive for, to try to set up your teams to do in order to effectively use them for arts teams, which right now an arts team is probably the easiest to set up, only because you don't need any special craft essences for an arts team. Craft essences, I haven't spoken too much about them. They do make or break crit teams, but craft essences, on the other hand, for arts teams, they're not completely necessary. They just increase, damage done or double phantasm generation. And luckily enough, I was lucky enough to get Prisma Cosmos, so like that on Hans is amazing because even if I'm not using his arts cards, he still gets another 8% on top of whatever he gets for that turn.
You
And
could put a max out Dragon's Meridian on Hans and then use his skill for instant Noble Phantasm.
yes, that is true. You could definitely do that. But I prefer Prisma Cosmos only because when I do fight with arts teams, it takes, it's quite a few turns. It's a long battle.
I usually put Prisma Cosmos on tanky servants or servants that don't do a lot of damage.
Yeah. Oh, or servants that you're not using, like, their arts combos constantly.
I usually put them on servants that is used for supports. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely I have Prisma Cosmos on there on Hans, only because Prisma Cosmos as well does give health. It gives, right now at level 20 out of 20, it gives an extra 589 health. So for Hans having such little health that he does as a 2-star, it definitely helps increase his survivability. Which right now he's actually at level 55, he's got 8875 health. Which is
Nice.
amazing. Yeah, and he's only at 140 out of 990 foos. So he's still got quite a bit to go to and once you hit like that 10,000 mark, survivability is pretty much there. Especially if you're able to throw up Hans's Noble Phantasm constantly to increase, obviously your party's damage, but also to increase, to regenerate their health, which is the best part of his Noble Phantasm. So, if you're not using Hans as your main support, then Jian would be an amazing uh, replacement for Hans, which we already spoke about earlier. And Jian with either Formalcraft or with Prisma Cosmos is amazing as well. Just to keep her, Noble Phantasms rolling, which is basically what I did earlier with that last mission. Like if you noticed, I was, focusing mainly on getting Hans's Noble Phantasm up a lot, which increases, the party survivability, but his Noble Phantasm is just amazing. So yeah, so I think we're gonna end this stream here.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah, if
actually
you
need to head off now.
yeah, sounds good, man. I'll catch you later then.
Yeah, have a good day
All
or
right.
night.
Yeah, it's middle of the day for me, but yeah. So, anyways, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you guys got some good information, If you have any other questions, please feel free to join our Discord and post them there. I'm very active there, obviously, my Discord, but and the link's in the description. So if you guys have any more questions, comments, concerns, whatever, just feel free to let me know. All right, take care, everybody, and see you later.